up on Tech News today, we find out that the RIAA may not be so good at the math. Chile is ready to be a guinea pig for net neutrality, and we solve the question of which came first, the chicken or the egg, with more questions. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, July 14th, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis, Gina Trapani, and Leo Laporte have so much fun, they often make us late getting started, but you'll learn a ton if you listen to them at twit.tv/twig. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
And I'm Sarah Lane.
Behind the board is our tubular producer, Erik Lanigan. Did you put that in yourself?
I did. I love the word tubular.
Oh, okay.
It's underused.
You're totally tubular.
He is totally tubular.
Radical.
Also joining us is Iyaz Akhtar, host of Dinosaurs Before They Were Fuels.
Yes, that's a real show. It's a dinosaur news podcast. It's actually the only one, apparently. The only video.
Find a need and fill it.
Well
done.
Like dinosaurs.
How many dinosaurs do you have in the audience?
How many do we have? I don't know.
Is that your target audience? Yeah. His actual dinosaurs. All right. Microsoft is having a lot of fun with Apple over the iPhone 4 problems. At least Kevin Turner, Microsoft's chief operating officer, is. In a keynote speech at the Worldwide Partner Conference, Kevin likened the iPhone 4 to Windows Vista.
Okay. iPhone 4, Windows Vista. I mean, considering the iPhone 4 is, sold out, I guess it's...
Vista sold well. Didn't sell as well as they would have liked.
Sure.
A lot of people refused to buy it. I don't know. People are starting to refuse to buy the iPhone 4 yet? I haven't seen anything like that.
I mean, I'm sure there are people who were going to get it who are now going to hold off because of the hardware issues or, what they've heard about it. But I don't think Apple is disappointed with sales of the iPhone 4.
No, they seem to be fine.
Yeah.
He also said one of the things I want to make sure you know today is that you're going to be able to use a Windows Phone 7 and not have to worry about how you're holding it to make a phone call.
Hey, them's fighting words.
They've done some math. A new analysis from Mike Abramsky of RBC Capital Markets says that every week Apple doesn't act on the iPhone 4 antenna costs them another $200 million towards a possible recall. Because they found that resolving the antenna issues right now would cost $900 million. Each additional week that Apple takes to resolve the issue adds another $200 million as sales increase.
Right. I don't think there's going to be a recall. What do we all think about this? I'm saying right now, and it's just not.
There will be some. They will finally come to some sort of resolution.
Right.
There's probably going to be a repair program. I mean, I had a MacBook, one of the original ones, and the plastic started chipping off of it. And this was a known issue. It took Apple about a year to actually say, okay, out of warranty or within warranty, we don't care. We'll take them back. So I'm pretty sure the iPhone 4 is probably going to run into the same thing because, I mean, some people probably don't even care. Some people probably don't even know, considering they probably bought a case right away. So, I mean, I'm expecting a repair program myself.
And that would be consistent with, remember we talked about the time capsule a while back on TNT and the fact that they've got a repair program for that. They'd have to get it done a lot faster if they want to avoid more of this bad press. And also, thanks to Alex, who pointed out on Twitter that back on July 3rd, PC Mag reported that Apple had dumped the iPhone 4 restocking fee. So if you want to return it,
that's a lot more realistic.
You can return it.
I mean, that's not the same thing as a recall, but it's Apple saying, hey, if you want to bring it back, you're not happy, you've got an issue with it, no restocking fee. What is it, like $30?
That seems more Apple. Like,
exactly.
You know what? Fine. You don't
want the phone?
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
We won't charge
take
you.
it.
We won't charge you extra.
Yeah.
Just bring it back. We'll give you money back.
We won't charge you what we would have charged you. The same amount of money to buy
the magical phone? Then fine.
Yeah. We'll give it to someone who wants it.
We'll give the magic to someone. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yes. So anyway, the iPhone saga continues. That's all we have to say on that.
This saga is old and tired, like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
I am sick of it.
Not sick of dinosaurs, though, right?
What?
You're not sick of dinosaurs, though.
Ew.
Okay. A Massachusetts newspaper, the Sun Chronicle, Massachusetts in the news a lot these days, will charge would-be commenters a nominal one-off fee of 99 cents paid by credit card to comment on their newspaper's website.
So this is I'm not familiar with this newspaper.
You don't read the Sun Chronicle?
I don't read the Sun Chronicle, the Massachusetts Sun Chronicle, but I know that there are people who do. I assume
Arresti
there are anyway.
DeConte, the publisher.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea here is that I'm reading I'm reading some sort of editorial piece. I've got something to say about it. I'm fired up. I want to make a comment. At this point, I pay 99 cents. I have to register my real name, and I have to use something that's associated with a credit card. So, I mean, it's going to be my real identity. I can't make up a funny name or be anonymous or whatever. That's just the one. So, I mean, the price isn't really the issue. It's more of what they want to do is cut down on anonymous commenting, taking comment streams out of control or being off topic or saying things that are just false. I like the idea of this. And at first I kind of went, paying to comment, that's the most ludicrous thing I ever heard. Well, you're really not paying that much. You're paying once to kind of say, hey, I'm a real person. I'd like to join the discussion. And I mean, I think we can all agree that even on some of the most well-written pieces, at well-respected publications, comments can get really out of control and get really lowbrow, and it can just kind of derail the conversation and just kind of ruin everything. So I don't know that I think this is the worst idea in the world.
Well, it's not, and it's not a money-making thing. This isn't how they solve the the issue of losing subscribers.
Right.
But it is a way to say, you know what?
It's a verification thing.
If you want to write a letter to the editor, you have to slap a 40-some cent postage stamp on it.
Exactly.
So it's akin to that. We're saying, you know what? We want to make sure that you put your real name on it. We're going to verify that by having your credit card number, and therefore the commentary is going to be more valuable because only people who are willing to go that far. Now, the other side of it is, well, wait a minute. Anonymity is essential to free speech, and we don't make you identify yourself in the public square. So this is putting a limit on that.
Right. And
well, if you want to say something about any article that's posted on this particular newspaper, you can always post your own ideas on Twitter or send an email directly to somebody at the newspaper. I'm just thinking about this as a website manager kind of role, that you don't have to moderate all these comments because people aren't going to probably spend $1 to say something idiotic or spam them. I mean, this is probably going to allow for editors to do their jobs instead of looking at millions of comments.
Right. I mean, I know certainly some of the more popular blogs, I mean, they employ people to moderate comments. I mean, they're not paying them a whole lot. Sometimes they're interns. But, I mean, this is actually something that is time-consuming, that is an actual position.
Yeah.
I mean, not that $1 is going to keep you from saying something stupid. I'm sure people will find ways to.
Oh no!
But it really kind of.
But you'll know who the stupid person is.
You'll know who the stupid person is, and it's not. I mean, think of all the lashing out that you read. Or just things that are just nobody's going to do that if they have to go through the process of registering. This isn't always going to work. Obviously, what was that story just a couple days ago about
Blizzard?
About Blizzard changing their minds because people said, "Well, whoa, we're not doing our real name thing. This is ridiculous."
And that's you're talking about the gaming culture versus newspaper reader culture. I don't think the audience of the Sun Chronicle is going to get outraged about this.
Yeah.
If anything, it'll just cut down the comments. They won't have a whole lot of comments because people will be like, I'm not going to put my credit card in to make a comment. Why do you want my credit card number? They'll think it's a privacy invasion more than anything.
Yeah.
But Iyaz, I think you made the salient point, which is this is their website. They can do whatever they want.
This isn't a free speech issue. I mean, free speech is really a government issue. Again, you have thousands of options to sound off if you want. So I don't think this is going to make a big difference to this newspaper in particular. But, I mean, it's getting them in the press now. So they're probably getting a lot more hits right now.
It's an interesting experiment.
Now, Virgil in the chat room just put a link to a Gizmodo article saying that there is a silent recall going on with the iPhone 4. These are some readers of Gizmodo saying that they have taken their iPhone 4 in, exchanged it, and the iPhone 4 they got in exchange doesn't have the reception problem. Although other readers are saying, I've exchanged mine and I still have the reception problem. So...
Well, are they different phone models?
No.
So
not according to what these readers are saying.
People who don't have reception problems anymore, this is in their head, or they're holding it differently, right?
Or
maybe it's the same phone.
And the genius part, they're putting a clear coat of nail polish on there to stop the conductive nature of the antenna.
Now, these folks are saying, I could death grip it and make it go all the way, from 5 bars down to none. But now I have a new one, and I tried the death grip, and it doesn't work. The bar stays full.
Well, that would probably have been the case with the original phone, depending on where you are, and if there's a tree in the window or all sorts of things. Yeah, people in the chat room are saying placebo effect, and I tend to agree.
Yeah,
new phone, it's different. It's a silent recall is happening right now.
The silent spring of iPhones has finally struck.
iPhone 4.1 in my hand.
Well, here's something that is much more firm and realistic and determined than factual. NPD says that iTunes users want a paid subscription service, and they're willing to plunk down $10 a month for it.
How does NPD know this?
They asked people.
Oh.
In a survey. 3,862 completed surveys, actually, of iTunes users age 13 and up, and said, hey, if iTunes were to offer this, would you want it? 15% of them said yes, and the average they said they would be willing to pay was roughly $10 a month.
Okay, so iTunes has what, like 50 million registered users?
I think that's right.
So 15% of that is still a really large number of folks. You'd be pulling in quite a chunk of change every month, even if just a small number, not even half of those people are interested in streaming music. I don't know how I feel about this.
It's actually more than 15%. It's 15 million. My mistake there.
15 million
so
people.
15 million of the 50 million.
Okay, 15 million folks.
So you're talking about 30%.
Right. That's a lot of money. I don't know. With iTunes shutting down Lala, isn't it sort of obvious, or at least we're expecting them to at least try out some sort of streaming service? Yeah. I am.
Well, something.com, because they've got all those people and that site and all of its assets. They just need to, from what I've heard is they have to figure out deals with the record companies to get it going. And that's why we haven't seen an iTunes.com. Why they shut down Lala, maybe it's leverage to say to the recording companies, like, all right, you're not going to be getting any money from Lala then until you make a deal with us.
Now, this streaming service would be limited to the music, right?
Yes, they only asked about music. They didn't ask.
$10 a month if I can get video on top of that. I think that's kind of killer.
Yeah, I would like to put you in charge of it because I like that idea better.
We'll change that lower third. Put iTunes.com right there.
Yeah. Are you still looking for a job, Iyaz?
Full-time, sure.
Yeah, Iyaz Akhtar, available at dinoshow.com. Hire him. Okay.
Go for it.
Maybe you could do some math for the RIAA and point out that possibly all of these legal fees aren't worth the money. A man on a blog post at recordingindustryversuspeople.blogspot.com claims that, according to RIAA disclosures, they paid their lawyers $16 million last year. He basically took all of their disclosures of how much they paid their lawyers and added them all up, and they recovered $391,000 in damages.
That's fuzzy math.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Let's pull up the old calculator.
So yeah, let's do some fractions. So the idea is that millions and millions of dollars were paid out to lawyers in order to make a statement and make examples of a few individuals. So they ended up to make those examples millions of dollars in the hole.
Yep.
Am I understanding this correctly?
2 cents on the dollar.
Wow. Good work.
I love this story.
And you can't help but just kind of laugh at the whole thing, right?
If you think about it, if you have to have, some attorneys have to convince a jury or a judge that each song is worth over $20,000. These guys have to be good. So, $16 million to convince people that each song is over 20 grand. These guys are doing their job pretty well. Now, the fact that the RIAA isn't getting a lot of money back, that's just because, well, even with the best lawyers, apparently, $16 million, there's no way they're going to recoup this. It's just so ridiculous in every single case. But apparently they must think that each song will provide, or these cases will provide enough deterrent that they will make all this money back.
I often take these studies to task that say piracy costs the music industry, $7 billion a year, because they figure out these amounts by assigning a dollar value to every song that's pirated, and not every song that is copied illegally would have been a sale otherwise, and so they're bunk numbers. But apparently the RIAA believes them, because that's the only way that this makes any sense, that they would spend $16 million for nothing back. As if they believe, oh, we've actually deterred enough people that they're gonna go out and they're gonna buy some music instead. And I don't think they are.
They're just proving their intelligence at the heads of the RAAA. That's all.
It just shows how much money the industry makes, because $16 million ain't nothing to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's move on then to Pink Floyd's manager, who says, you know what, you can't stop file sharing, so why don't you just give up all of this lawsuitery and figure out how to make some money? Maybe Rapid Share would be the way we make some money. We just create our own Rapid Share thing, and we just charge for it.
Pink Floyd's manager? Good work.
The former manager of Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's seen some stuff. He's been out. He's seen the world. He's toured. The pigs, the flying pigs, and I went to a Pink Floyd concert once.
Yeah?
Listen-
Peter Jenner is it?
Listen to him. Listen to Peter. He's seen.
Well, he says
He's seen the world. He knows the industry.
attempts to stop people copying are clearly a waste of time. Not only are they a waste of time, they make the law offensive. They are comparable to prohibition in the U.S. in the 1920s. And I think he's right, because a lot of people don't really think they're doing anything wrong. And even if they are, trying to convince them that they are is not working. So it has been my position for a long time that whether you think infringing copyright is right or wrong, you're going to have to adapt to the medium that is the internet if you want to combat it.
Exactly.
And I believe that's what Jenner's saying here, and I think he's got the right idea.
Go Jenner.
I like that, Jenner. Toshiba, on the other hand, needs to listen to some common sense. They advertised in several different countries during the World Cup, Germany, England, Portugal, Italy, and Spain, that they would give you your money back on a Core i5 laptop or a Toshiba TV if your country won the World Cup.
Now, first of all, that's a really bold thing to offer, because Italy won the last World Cup.
Yep.
As we all know, Germany did very well in this World Cup.
Yeah, it's not like they were doing this in the U.S. where it would be perfectly safe.
Spain was it was a bit of an underdog that ended up winning. That would have been one thing to just do it in Spain or the U.S.
Yeah.
But this was a pretty bold thing. We're going to, refund all your money, but go on.
Yes, then it turns out the fine print said you had to register your product by June 17th or you were ineligible for the refund.
How fine was the print? Pretty fine?
Yeah, it was pretty damn fine. It was a small print on the ad, and it said, you must see Toshiba's site for further details. So you had to go to their website to find out what this fine print said.
Oh, my gosh.
So there was fine print saying go to the website for details, and when you went to the website, you got that long, here are the rules of the contest, and buried in the rules of the contest were must register your product packaging.
Okay, so they offered you a refund on TV if your country wins the World Cup.
Yeah.
People all over Spain do this.
Yes.
They don't read the fine print, and then Toshiba says, well, we're not really lying, and now you have a country... Now you have a country that's really, really upset because, yeah, technically they're not lying, but they totally duped everybody, and they knew they were doing it.
Now,
Why do companies do things like this?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just going to upset people. That's all you're doing.
Curious. How many people actually bought a TV thinking they were going to get a refund or a laptop? Because if the numbers are only like a couple thousand, I mean, they can easily fix this, but we're talking millions and millions of people. I mean, it's basically, it's going to determine how big a disaster for PR this is going to be. Right?
Yeah.
If there's millions of people who bought this in good faith, then there's problems.
There's always fine print on these contests that you have to take into account, but usually the main things that you have to do are either obvious or stated up front because companies don't want to run into this situation. This was kind of stupid on Toshiba's part to say oh, we're going to have a pretty major stumbling block here and just not even acknowledge it in the ad.
Yeah.
We're going to bury it on the website.
People won't mind.
Yeah. Well, none of these countries are going to win the World Cup.
This is what turns people against products.
Yeah.
Is things like this.
So they're legally fine. They covered their ass.
No, but if no one buys a TV now because Toshiba sucks.
Well, not in Spain, they're not.
Sure, go ahead and be legally fine. But you've been boycotted.
Right next to Spain is France.
France?
And in France, legislatures, or maybe call them Frenchislators. No, we're not going to do that. Have passed the country's tough new 3 strikes law. We've talked about this before. If you get accused of piracy, of infringing copyright, and the court oversight determines that you have done it, 3 times, you're going to lose your internet for a year. Well, it turns out that the party, the UMP party that wrote and supported the Création et Internet, that's not even close.
Very good.
Not at all. Law has now changed their mind a little. They knew and perceived the weakness of the law before it was passed.
Let me guess, they're caving to public pressure.
They confessed that the choice of wording in the law was maladroit and issued un petit mea culpa for the way the law turned out. And now the leader of the party says, I have evolved a bit on this issue.
Okay, so the idea then being... I mean, do you think that most of the sort of public outrage about this is that not only if you're a copyright infringer, you do it once, you do it twice, you do it 3 strikes, you're out, okay. But if you're also running a network that isn't locked down and somebody uses it, then you're also part of the problem. You're an accomplice.
Yeah.
See, that's what I would be upset about if I was a French citizen, is that part of it. Because I'm not necessarily doing anything wrong, I'm just not locking down my network.
But people are just like, well, wait a minute. I shouldn't lose my network for this. You know, I mean, I'm just accused. So the UMP has set up a working group to bolster its image and policies regarding the internet. They created a website soliciting public input and have turned out a 37-page report. They've essentially done an about-face on the entire issue.
Right.
Without changing the law. The law is the same. They just have a different position. So they're just... Nothing's actually changed.
Yeah, but maybe they can, maybe the people against this law could start a movement to get it overturned.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll check back with France in a few days.
Now, on our continuing world tour of tech news, we take you to Chile in Santiago.
Hola!
Where Chile has become the first country in the world to approve by 100 votes and 1 abstention a law guaranteeing net neutrality. The law states that no ISP can block, interfere with, discriminate, hinder, nor restrict the right of any internet user of using, sending, receiving, or offering any content, application, or legitimate service through the internet, as well as any activity or legitimate use conducted through the internet. It also forces ISPs to provide parental control tools, clarify contracts, and guarantee users' privacy and safety when surfing. Essentially, they had no laws about the internet in Chile before, and so they've gone whole hog on this one.
So, okay, that's interesting. So not only South America seems to be leading the fight, we were just talking about Brazil, now Chile, stuff that people here in the U.S. at least would be like, gosh, we should really be watching and listening to these guys a little bit more. But they've not only sort of said, okay, let's maybe change our stance a little bit. They've done a complete 180.
A volte-face. Oh, wait, that's German. Yeah, they I think they realized, like, well, this isn't a good situation because we want people to use the internet. So what should we do? And they put in net neutrality laws. This will be a good test case, too, to find out if the fears about net neutrality laws affecting network management and the ability to provide quality of service and make money off of your network are valid, or how bad they are, at least, in a test case situation here in Chile. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Thanks, Chile, for being the net neutrality guinea pig of sorts.
You go get them, Chile.
We appreciate it.
Back in America, GM has guaranteed the Volt battery, this is the Chevy Volt, their all-electric car, will run for 100,000 miles or 8 years, whichever comes first, without failing. Guaranteed.
All right. Good work. 100,000 miles or 8 years, whichever comes first. I think 100,000 miles.
Well, these days, yeah.
Yeah. They average like 12,000 a year.
Used to be 10 years, 100,000 miles, but people drive more.
Okay, so that's kind of on par with any gas guzzler, wouldn't you say? 100,000 miles for a warranty?
Wait, I said 8. It's 5. I misread it. It just looked like an 8. 5 years or 100,000 miles. What?
5 years would totally go
Oh, no, they already offer a... no, it is 8 years. It is 8 years on the lithium-ion battery because they already offer a 100,000-mile 5-year warranty on engines and transmissions on other models. So this is a better warranty on the electric car.
And on the gasoline engine in this car, in the Volt.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that they believe in it that much more, right? They're like, yeah, we got another few years that we're comfortable covering this for because they don't think they're going to have a lot of problems. I'm into it.
That sounds dangerous to say out loud, doesn't it? They don't think anything will go wrong. What could possibly go wrong in 8 years?
Let's bump it up to 8.
I hope that GM actually has something good and some good tech in this because, I mean, the Volt's a really unique product and if GM is going to stand behind it for 100,000 miles or 8 years, that sounds like, people might actually go out and buy it because it's kind of an experimental vehicle. This isn't something people normally have.
Yeah, and people are worried that these batteries will wear out. So when you buy like a hybrid, most companies will give you an extended warranty on that battery so that you don't worry about it. But those are hybrids. That battery is used less. This battery is going to be used all the time. That's all you use to power the Volt.
Well, this is the sort of thing that you're going to have to convince consumers that they're good. They're good for a while. 100,000 miles that's a lot of miles.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. If it's 20,000, who's going to buy a Volt?
Nobody would buy one. Yeah.
Right.
So this is putting the consumer's mind at ease. All right. Apple has acquired Poly9. They're a company that makes 3D-based assets that go into web browsers. Most popularly is a Google Earth type thing that they made, which is now down because Apple has bought them and moved them from Quebec to Cupertino, and nobody knows why.
Way.
Are they going after Google? That's what the Register thinks.
What do you think? I don't know what to think.
I asked you first.
I asked you second.
Iyaz?
There's more than one. First the worst, second the best.
I will chime in. I think the Register wanted just to write something fancy and get people to look at it. I mean, these guys, they do work with Google Maps. They do make APIs, this Poly9 company. So odds are, yeah, Apple will probably do something with their own maps because if there's anything I've seen over the past, couple of years, Apple doesn't like being dependent on anybody for anything, including the processors, so they make their own. So they probably will move to the map interface of their own things. But I mean, is it going to happen anytime soon? I probably would expect iTunes.com to show up first before we see anything like this.
Well, that's the thing. Apple buys these companies a lot, and we never see the obvious thing come out of Apple. It's usually they're buying the expertise for something else they had in mind. Like, for instance, when they bought PA Semi, we ended up seeing a really cool chip inside the iPad. So it wasn't... There were a lot of talk about iPhone chips, but there was a right turn. Although we did get the iPhone chip eventually. So I imagine with this, it's not as simple as they're going to go after mapping. They want this no download 3D API for the browser that they can build into Safari. That's my guess.
Well, if it's cool, then I'm into it.
I am too. You know what else is cool? They finally solved the chicken and egg question.
What?
Yes.
This is the oldest question in the history of. It's dinosaur style old.
This according to the New York Daily News.
Oh, well then it's right.
Scientists in England recently published a report that it all comes down to one protein which helps in the formation of the egg's hard shell. The essential ingredient in the formation of the egg can only be produced inside a chicken.
Okay, fine. So what we're saying is chicken came first because the chicken would had to have produced this protein that creates the egg. However, we're going to go down this route. How did you need two chickens, right? Or even just the one. Let's say there was no chicken love happening.
Chicken
Let's just say there was the one chicken.
Okay.
Chicken grew out of the ground like a tulip?
Iyaz.
What we probably had was two animals that weren't chickens and a mutant came out of it and that became the chicken. I mean, that's how evolution works. It takes a really long time to it probably didn't come out of the ground. It probably came from what would have been a failed egg. This thing probably would not have been enough of them had to be selected for this chicken thing to continue, right? Flat out. So that's evolution.
Like any
Iyaz
good,
is making this not that funny.
He's good science.
Coming in with all this interesting information.
I do have a bio degree sitting around somewhere.
I like my tulip theory. Thank you.
Well, I think we need to teach the controversy.
Yes, the tulip theory versus evolution. I'm totally for it. I'll put it on the next episode of Dinosaurs.
So, I mean, is TNT's official stance chicken was a mutant, laid an egg, and now we all enjoy scrambles every Sunday?
It's weird that they define chicken by egg hardness. That seems to be what they're doing. They're not talking DNA. They're talking about a protein that made the egg shell, not the creature that's in it.
Right, because you can't make an egg without that protein.
Right.
So without that protein, there is no egg.
And other eggs.
The only place that you can make a chicken egg is inside a chicken.
It still doesn't make any sense. Where did the chicken come
science,
from?
this answer leads to more questions, and now we need to figure that out. That is the next question that you need to apply for a grant to research,
Which
Sarah.
came first, chicken or egg?
No, where did the chicken come from? We know the chicken came first, but where did the chicken come from?
Did the chicken sprout out of the ground?
Exactly.
Yes or no?
You need to apply for a grant from the NSA for your tulip theory research.
I will be going to grad school on Monday.
Excellent. Before you do that, though, can you do the calendar?
Yes, I guess. I mean, I still do work here for now.
For
anyway. Twitter
Till the
launches
grant
its
comes.
first early bird deal. If you're not familiar with this, the early bird deal is sort of this. It's a Twitter. Well, I was going to say experiment, but I'm sure it'll stick around. It hangs out in the. It's like a promoted tweet. Basically, it's down at the end of the trending topics. So we've heard about this, but the first early bird deal was released today. And it's a free movie ticket as long as you want to see The Sorcerer's Apprentice. So here's my problem with it is that and it's free movie ticket, so it's 2 for 1.
Nicolas Cage.
So you get to take somebody to the movie for the price of just
They make
bringing
you take someone to the movie in order
someone
to get
who
a
wouldn't
deal.
want to go if they had to pay.
Right.
That's the thing. Sorcerer's Apprentice not getting the best reviews. I'm not saying it's bad because I haven't seen it. I would have been a little bit more excited about Inception.
Yes.
Free ticket to Inception, which I'm going to see this Friday for full price. But I like the idea of this. I mean, this is a trend we're seeing a lot about. Okay, go Twitter. Free movies if you want to see Sorcerer's Apprentice. Windows 7 Service Pack 1 public beta is now ready for download. They say the official.
I'm going to download it
official
right
service
now.
pack should not is not expected to be available till at least next year sometime.
Yeah, this isn't the auto-pushed one. This is just the beta.
Yeah, and it's kind of big. It's like over a gig.
Yeah,
so
service packs.
there's a lot going on there.
Service packs are getting bigger and bigger all the time.
Droid X goes on sale tomorrow, and Verizon is promising there'll be plenty of them. So come on out.
There'll be long lines, but you shouldn't go home empty-handed.
Wait in line. Yeah, make sure you can get service before you leave. New firmware to bless the PS3 with support for 3D games, 3D Blu-ray, 3D photos, and 3D YouTube coming in September.
So that's for real. We'll get a firmware update in September. All right, there you go.
3D YouTube.
Put it on your calendar, folks. 3D YouTube on your PS3 in September.
We got 4K, 3D. YouTube's going modern.
They're counting.
Yeah.
What'll be 5? On to the voicemails. 260-TNT show is our phone number. You can give us a call as Dustin did, or you can send us an MP3 to TNT@twit.tv like Tom did. We'll start with Tom, who has what I'm going to consider to be the final word on the whole silent car controversy.
Okay, seriously, TIE Fighter Roombox. How would that not be awesome? I mean, you're passing somebody on the freeway, give them a little bit of this.
Yeah, we know.
And then somebody cuts you off, give them a little bit of this. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
By the way, love the show. It is dynamite. Get it? TNT, dynamite.
Yeah, we get
Yep,
Ooh,
I am that clever.
We got a funny
But
guy.
he held off from making the explosion sound effect at the end.
The dynamite sound effect. If I cut somebody off and I heard that, I'd probably brake suddenly, causing an accident. And I don't know. I mean,
I actually want to not only have the sound effect, but the actual lasers to take out the car that cut me off.
You cut me off. Well, do you ever listen to a song? You listen to music, radio, or whatever, and like the song has something that sounds like a siren, or some sort of weird thing when you're driving.
Commercials. Yeah, if you ever have the radio, I don't have the radio on my car almost ever anymore, but the few times I do, and then there's a commercial with a siren. I'm like, what is your problem? The only place anyone listens to the radio anymore is in their car. And you put a freaking siren in your ad? I hate you now. I will never buy your product.
It scared me a few times.
Yeah. All right, I didn't realize that was going to cause such a rant.
Well, it sure did.
On to Dustin, who is going to bring up an old debate.
Hey, TNT crew. This is Dustin from Houston. I was listening to yesterday's episode wherein a company called Wellcat said that it was Embrace Your Geekness Day, and you were talking about the definition of geek, and I think that Wellcat has it all wrong. There is a huge difference between being a geek and being a nerd. Now, I, for one, am proud to be a geek. I am a network penetration tester and system engineer. However, I am not a nerd, which would be somebody who would dress up as a vampire, play dungeon games, things of that nature. So just hope I could clear that up. Thanks a lot. Love the show.
Dustin has really opened a can of worms, hasn't he?
Well,
a can of worms that's been open for many, many years.
It's an old story, Sarah.
It's an old tale. I don't agree with Dustin, and it doesn't mean that I'm right and he's wrong, but I don't think nerds mean more of the D&D crew any more than geek does.
Well, there has been a rather popular Venn diagram done on this subject, and as you mentioned, the dork side of this.
Yeah, D&D and dressing as a vampire or believing you're a vampire, I think, and I am saying this, and I do think I'm right, and I think that Dustin's wrong. I think that makes you a dork. It doesn't make you a nerd or a geek. A geek is really more of a circus sideshow freak, actually. So I think you're misusing all kinds of terms. The Venn diagram.
Sideshow freak is a geek?
Actually, yeah.
Literally, it's a sideshow freak who bites the heads off chickens.
Yeah. See,
Chickens
I don't know. I mean, dressing up like a vampire, I'd say maybe they were goth rather than dorks. But the thing, I've always sort of found geeks and nerds to be somewhat of an interchangeable term.
Well, the actual Venn diagram on this, Sarah, states very clearly that a combination of intelligence and obsession makes you a geek. A combination of intelligence, social ineptitude, and obsession makes you a nerd. And if you don't have the intelligence, just the social ineptitude and the obsession, you're a dork.
Oh, I'm a dork.
You have the intelligence? What are you talking about?
Not much.
Don't sell yourself short.
I always thought nerd was more associated with being obsessed with learning and like acquiring information and things. People say, "Oh, I'm such a nerd. I like this or that."
Like nerding out or geeking out. That's the same thing.
Of course, there's also the dweeb, crossing intelligence and social ineptitude.
Yes.
I'd say that's where you fall.
Anthony Michael Hall in The Breakfast Club, a dweeb,
right?
For example.
Not obsessive. Well, he's a little obsessive.
This is like a chicken and egg scenario. We're really never going to figure this out,
there's no protein to make a nerd without a geek. So, all right, let's move on to our emails. TNT@twit.tv. Lucas wrote in, said, "Hey guys, regarding the discussion of unmanned autonomous aircraft soldier bots, I figured I'd offer a soldier's perspective. I'm a staff sergeant on my 3rd tour in Iraq. I'm an infantryman and trained as a sniper. The air support is feasible." We're talking about the unmanned aircraft. Considering where technology is headed as far as troop position tracking and such, but ground troops have things you couldn't reproduce in a robot. And I'm not just talking about the combat skills you need, such as moving and communicating. They could never reproduce the human experience that soldiers provide to the local populace. One example of what I'm talking about just happened a couple of days ago. Their platoon was walking through a village. A woman came up, spoke Arabic. They didn't understand her, but they were able to figure out that her son had broken his hand. Through an interpreter, the medic told them what was wrong and what to do, at least to help it heal right. They said, and he says, look, you know what? Robot couldn't have done that.
Right.
Or could it? The robot might have spoke Arabic.
But would it, I mean, sure. You can program some Arabic into a robot, but then it's that interaction.
It's that sort of, at what point do we have enough sophisticated AI to do that sort of behavior? Right now, we don't.
No.
We're far away. And Lucas is right.
Yeah, simple tasks performed by a robot. The idea of a robot flying a plane, super cool. Doesn't even come close to what a human could do in terms of interaction. That was a really neat email, actually.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. Appreciate that, and thanks for your service, man.
Yeah, for sure. Should we go on to our next email? This one's from Earl from Southfield, Michigan. TNT, I don't know about other parts of the country, but my electric company, Detroit Edison, has had interruptible power for years. For a reduced electrical rate overall, they installed a separate power circuit that connects to my central air. During high usage times, they can shut down power to the system compressor up to 15 minutes every half hour. I can't think my area is any different than other parts of the country, so this idea of dimming the lights to save power money is really nothing new. And he's not the only one who wrote in to say so.
No, we had a lot of
folks. Las Vegas, someone from California, someone from North Dakota also said, yeah, but this is a program that we're already used to. So,
Iyaz, you were thinking New York might have a program like this as well, right?
Yeah, I think New York City actually, I might be wrong, but I think New York City actually had this program a while ago, because I remember Con Edison showing up to my house in Queens, and they went ahead, they're like, we'll have our own breaker for you. So,
you know, speaking, you've lived in Queens.
Yes.
Oh, well,
yes,
you know
I
what?
have.
We normally don't make guests do this, but would you mind reading this last email? Because it has to do with Queens.
Sure. You know what? I think we need appropriate lighting. Let's see if we can get that. Do we have my staff there? Okay, good. TNT, I really enjoy the show, yet I'm conflicted because you're ruining my love life. I've watched TNT live since inception and look forward to it each day. In my area, I had been watching King of Queens from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. Leah Remini and I have had something special for years. You see, I'm in love with Carrie Heffernan and had rarely missed her show. I think she's going to dump me because I never watch anymore. Maybe you could schedule TNT an hour later each day. so Leah and I can be happy together. Just a thought from Steve in Lake City, Michigan. So, Tom, what do you think? You going to move the show?
Steve seems to be the only one who wants it later.
I think Steve might just need to either watch us on a podcast or get a DVR. We can take up a collection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's more likely than us moving the entire time of the show just for Steve.
Right.
We're not
Steve
against
can
moving
also-
the time of the show.
Steve can also watch this show at his leisure as well.
It's what I mean. You could just do the podcast version of it. Yeah.
So, Steve, you've got
Steve,
options.
we're not against you.
We're living
not
in
against
the
you here. We
now.
understand.
So,
Why can't you watch both at the same time?
Yeah, one eye on each.
yeah,
We
I
can do
mean,
that.
we're multitasking.
Totally.
Right?
There
this
we
is
go.
a multitasking society.
Picture in
Step
picture.
it up,
Totally do it.
Steve.
All right. He's got the show recorded. We're good. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Iyaz, for being on the show. Again, let everybody know about your thing with the dinosaurs.
All right, so I do a show called Dinosaurs Before They Were Fuels. It's available at dinoshow.com. And for the folks in the chat room and a lot of people, they're like, there's no news. The weird thing is, every day there's a new discovery about dinosaurs. I mean, just the other day, something called the Mojoceratops was introduced, and that's its real name. If you want to know more, go and check it out at dinoshow.com.
260-TNT Show is our phone number. TNT@twit.tv is the email. And twit.tv/TNT is the website. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.